So, the SEC's Twitter account was recently hacked and hijacked, and they posted a fake approval of the Bitcoin ETF, pumping Bitcoin nearly 3% and then quickly after dumping nearly 7%. So essentially, the official SEC account posted a statement from Gary Gensler saying that the long-awaited approval arrived, but then Gensler's X account said it was a hoax. So how did this impact price? Well, essentially what happened, as soon as this tweet came out, Bitcoin pumped nearly 2.6%, so rounding to 3%, and then dumped just about 6% once they found out it was fake, 6.8%. The tip of the dump. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means that people are very, very scared to invest right now. Since the dump, we've seen absolutely no movement in volume, and Bitcoin looks very, very ready to move to the downside, regardless of what happens with the SEC approval. Now, a lot of people are saying that today, in fact, SEC is going to come out and say that the approval is happening. However, one thing I want to note is that when people are very, very bullish, you should be very, very scared. So I really think that there is going to be a massive, massive correction. Even if the things come out positive, I think we'll see an initial pump, some kind of movement. You know, that initial tweet will send Bitcoin another 5%. However, I think that if you really narrow it down, who is actually going to buy a Bitcoin ETF? Now, people who aren't really interested in crypto aren't going to think that an ETF is much better than buying crypto itself. So they're not really interested. And people who are already doing crypto, like you and me, usually don't see the sort of upside to buying an ETF when we can just buy Bitcoin itself. And Bitcoin largely moves as the market moves. It's a market mover. So the ETF is going to perform very, very similarly to Bitcoin, I imagine. And that's one of the reasons I think that Bitcoin is just going to plummet, just because people are already priced in. There's so much hype around what's going on with SEC and how they're approving it, and a lot of big names are coming out. But the really simple fact shows that Bitcoin is very, very easy to dump right now. Just this fake news alone dumped it twice as much as the initial pump. So people are very, very scared, and that's going to play in the hands of big whales that are going to take advantage of this news. And I'm sure that we're going to see within the next couple of hours what happens with Bitcoin. I think we might see an initial pump if it does get approved, and obviously if it doesn't get approved, or it's just going to linger for a little bit, we're going to see quite the decrease. Because the thing you have to note is that the real people who make money in this market are always going to be the big players, and it's simple for them, obviously shown by the charts, just to dump the markets rather than keep increasing price like you and me expect it to. So that's something you have to really keep a note. If you really want to tackle this well, I would very much avoid using leverage right now. As enticing as it is, it's just because there is so much risk. Even if you play it right, just avoid using a lot of leverage, because obviously this fluctuation itself, both short traders and long traders got liquidated within the space of 30 minutes. And that's just what crypto does. And especially at a turmoil point such as this, it's really going to be very hard to predict what's going to happen. I would very much avoid longing at the moment, just because Bitcoin hasn't seen a major correction. If we zoom out to the 1 day, even though yes, we've seen spikes of dumps within a couple of minutes, it just has been uptrending even since early October when we hit a low of 27,000. It hasn't really seen a continuous negative downtrend, and that's why we've seen a lot of volatility to the downside very quickly, because people who are taking profits from this 26,000 position are very easy to dump it in a position where it's very volatile. So especially with this news coming out, I think we could see Bitcoin test towards 44,000 if we do see the rejection, and then head to lows of 10% from where we are now. So sub 40k if there is SEC disapproval. And then if it does get approved, I think Bitcoin will pump slightly, as we've seen, towards 48k and then 50k. However, I think pushing past that, once it evens out at around 48 to 50k, we're going to see another massive correction, because this has been priced in for a long time, and it just doesn't look very good in terms of upward volume right this second.